Welcome to an edition of Prodigy Talks. We're here at the North Carolina EMS Expo 2024. Again, we've been here last year. We've had some great conversations. Of course, they have an escalator, so we love it. We love coming here. But this morning's keynote, good friend of ours, Steve Wirth, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Welcome back to the Prodigy
excellent.
booth. Yes,
this is nicer than the escalator, I must say.
Yeah, because we're not moving and we're not worried about falling off.
There's more pressure with the escalator because you only got 20 seconds.
Indeed, and actually my session tomorrow, I'm going to talk about actually tales from the moving staircase.
Awesome.
And one of the key communication skills is being able to answer that question from the top to the bottom.
You got it.
I'm actually using a clip of you talking about politics. Okay. So we'll see that in the morning. Right. Anyway, your keynote, I mean, some fantastic points, but actually sort of give me the Steve Wirth version of what you told us this morning. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, well, it all comes down to giving your best to the patient 110% of the time, really, giving it all. And I talked about the power of going the extra mile, of going more than just doing what the patient asks you to do, like take me to the hospital, and not just doing what treatment is expected, but making that experience a positive thing for them, sort of treating the patient like, this is going to be the best experience they've had all day, is this interaction with the paramedic or the EMT or whatever. And I think we're losing some of that in the polarization of our society, and in the fact that we're so busy and stressed out and short-staffed and everything. We got to bring it back to the patient and remember, hey, we may be having a bad day, but we can't let that affect how we work with the patients.
We're supposed to be the best part of the patient's worst day of their life. And so,
there you go. I love that phrase.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'll use that in a slide.
Please do. I've stolen a few of your quotes in the past. And I'm going to steal a Churchill one because Churchill said attitude is everything.
Yeah,
and you concur.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, if you look at the litigation, there's actually studies on malpractice cases that show that one of the main culprits and why people sue is because they don't like you. Because you were rude to them, because the healthcare provider didn't communicate with them. And it's all about attitude. In fact, we've had cases where negligence was committed by EMS practitioners and the patient said, we don't want to sue. No, they're good people.
You're too nice.
Literally, that can save you from a lawsuit by being nice to people.
I think it's a fair thing to say that certainly my experience on 2 continents leading EMS, never has the patient complained about the gauge of needle you used, but they have certainly talked about the patient were mean or not being nice.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, so you gave some good examples. We're going to mention our friend Steve Graham out in California.
Oh, yes.
You know, some glowing examples about how organizations conduct themselves. We know our friends at Royal Ambulance, of course, are in the top 40 Glassdoor organizations to work. And it's well earned, right?
Oh, yes, it is. And some may ask, well, why do they do it so well? How come they get these awards and recognition? It's because it's from the leadership at the top, conveying to all their people how important it is that the patient is the focus. That we're just helping them in their journey in the healthcare system. And our job is to make that experience as positive as possible. They talk about that throughout the entire organization. It's part of their training program, and this is another problem we've seen in recent years, is a reduction in training and education. And what's one of the first things that get cut from the budget when times are tough? Training and education, because that's not generating the revenue. But the bottom line is it's generating the people who generate the revenue. And if we don't make sure that we're conveying our expectations as to how you should be treating patients, and we don't watch that carefully, it's going to slip. Next thing you're going to know, you're going to have complaints, you're going to have denied claims because your documentation isn't good, and you're going to have a lawsuit.
Absolutely. And you segued me nicely into this, of course. If you need to get some really good, affordable education, I think the answer is right behind us. So, so that's the way forward. Now, of course, you went on to a second session, which the more lawyer in you. Documentation. I mean, pick out, you gave us a top 10, but the top 5 documentation issues we just need to be aware of and not do, or do perhaps.
Yeah, simple. Make sure we're complete and accurate in our documentation. Don't lie, don't falsify, don't misrepresent the patient's condition. Paint a picture of what's going on. Use adjectives, use words that a reader can look at that documentation and get a picture of what's going on with the patient. Make sure you get patient signatures. That's really important from the reimbursement standpoint. And crew members should sign. And part of the problem, Rob, we're seeing is that You get 2 people on an ambulance crew. Hey, it goes like this. Hey, I was in the back with the patient last time. I'm driving this time. You do the report. Guess what? Both people are a part of that report. Both are on the crew. The driver, quote unquote, should also be reviewing that report. So it's a check and balance, I think, as well. That's important.
That's excellent. And actually, I have no difficulty with the term driver because, no, seriously, because if we're not the driver, who is?
Yeah.
And I report for the AAA every week on the amount of crashes and intersection issues and lack of understanding that you are controlling a very, very heavy vehicle. And so, this is heresy for me to say this, but actually we have to be professional at that too to get there.
The problem continues, despite all the evidence that shows us that we don't need to be running lights and siren to the scene.
Yep.
Okay. In the vast majority of cases, we're still doing it in a lot of areas. Okay. Every week we see report after report of fire trucks and ambulances and vehicle crashes. Okay. I don't call them accidents because they're not really an accident. It's a crash.
Yes.
Somebody's responsible.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And to us as lawyers, that's the number one risk area, vehicle crashes.
Yep.
No question about it. Sure, the other stuff's critical, like how you manage and handle the patient handling. You drop a patient because you're on your cell phone or whatever. That's a big problem. But it's vehicle crashes is the number one thing. It's the easiest to control, okay? Because we can just cut down on the lights and sirens and avoid risk and make it a more safe and comfortable ride for the patients too. Fortunately, a lot of ambulance companies today have eliminated running lights and sirens to the hospital, but there's still some that do that. I just heard the other day about a couple of big cities that are still doing it, and they say, we got to get the units back in service. Okay, that's why we do it. Okay, is that worth the risk, putting the patient under just to get the unit back in service quicker? And I don't know. And what's going to happen when you get to the hospital and you're waiting on the wall now for 2 hours till you
when
can
the
even
inevitable
leave?
intersection accident occurs, then you try using that excuse to news at 11 and see where that gets you.
Well, and look at the videos we're seeing, Bob. You see them all the time.
Yep.
And now, you got not just, drive cams and the things in the vehicle that are tracking it, but you got people with phones, you got intersection cameras, and you can't be putting others' lives in jeopardy. Driving with due regard for the safety of others. That's paramount in everything we do.
Great. Well, always good having Steve Wirth on. We've covered a range of areas from a man that I look up to as one of my sages in EMS. And
likewise.
Thank you, sir. That's strong words coming from you. So we'll carry on with the mutual love. But in the meantime, back to you.